What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol PROG for Progenity Inc. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this will, of course, be more of an update. We covered it just yesterday, and I want to, reiterate a couple of things. Obviously, this is still in a massive downtrend. The other thing to point out here is that we're continuing to move lower after people had thought, right, because of the direct offering. Again, let me remind you, that's 20 million, right, being offered at 150, I believe the number was. I'm not going to search for that, but it was 150. People sort of thought that maybe this would act as a floor in here. And don't forget that just because that's where the number is, just because that's the price point, doesn't mean that the company that's getting those shares isn't getting a bad deal, right? They could be getting a bad deal at 150, and really this is valued at sub 1, right? So all things considered, whenever you're dealing with financial markets, always take anything with a grain of salt. Nothing's a guarantee in the financial markets. The other thing, of course, is that whenever you do a direct listing or just offer more shares, you're basically diluting the value of existing shares. Think about supply and demand. As supply gets higher and demand remains the same, something else has to change in the negative direction, and that, of course, is price, right? So from a supply-demand perspective, it makes sense that we kind of get a little bit of a move lower. Anyways, what's going on with the technicals, and what can we do about this one going forward? Obviously, we saw a decrease in volume on today's session, which is okay, given the fact that we saw continued pullback, but we did respect this area here at 122. So I think that's what it's going to boil down to in this chart. Do we remain above this gap, or do we start to fill it underneath and then move lower into this overall range? That range kind of being defined as this, between 122, the top of the gap, and the bottom of this area of support at 86 cents. If we make our way back down there, right, if we make our way to the gap fill and do not see a strong gap fill reversal, I would expect this going forward, right? Just dribbling sideways, kind of flattening out at and around this sort of one area. That's the sort of bearish case, and that would coincide with volume drying up, getting back down to essentially non-existent like we had in the past from in here. And again, let me remind you, aggressive downtrend, right? This is really only going to sustain upward momentum if we can see volume increase and if we can take out that 150. If we get back above it, I do think more people get excited about this and it makes its way back higher towards 2. After that, we know we have resistance at 236 and 264, but that's a ways away overhead as it sits right now. A lot of work to be done if that is going to come back into play. Again, it's really going to stem down to volume if there is any move higher. You have the levels I'll be watching out for. Again, 150 is kind of that tipping point where, again, I think people start to get interested if we're back above that sort of listing price offer. So that's going to wrap up my thoughts inside of PROG as it sits right now. Direction is not abundantly clear. You have a catalyst point here at 150, and again, if it moves lower, probably just stepping aside, letting it do its thing back inside of this range in here. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything new today, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.